Kia ora everyone. Kia ora everyone. I'll just please get you to take your seats. Thank you. Down, please. We're going to kick off the meeting.
Very good. It's not ours.
You're gonna... Cool. Thank you, everyone. Kia ora. So just so you know, Michelle, we're going to have the two mics in front of you on, so the kōrero can be heard behind you. So just be aware that those mics are on. And now I think Ropata, you, kia ora.
He oi anō, Māori tau ki te whare e tū nei, o tira kia tātou e tau nei, kia tuturu o whiti whakamaua kia tīna. Tīna. Au me hui e. Tai. Ka pukapu taku kupu ki a koe, te koro matua e kara e wai tēnā koe. Noho ane ki te ahurewa, tapu o te ture, mihi ana ki a koe. Kia koutou rā, ngā mema Poari, Rahera, Rachel, Richard, tēnā koe. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ki te iwi, mātakitaki mai nā tua o te tirohanga kānohi, tēnei ka mihi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Ora.
Ko te taha ki te ture ki whakataha. E kara e wārena.
Ora.
Me ki te whare e tū nei, e hara nāu te he. Hara i te mea ko tū koe, mo tētahi take pēnei te āhua. E kara e wārena, aha kua tū tēnei ki hea ka hare i te tika. Nā rere mihi ana ki a koe me te iwi ko tai mai. Ka mau ki te pare kawa, hei whakapuaki i taku mihi. Tēnei nā ka tū nei ki te pukapua tāmaki te tahi whenua tuko mai te wāapi haima. Ka tia whai rā taku haere ka tau ki hikurangi ki ngā tapu ai o ngā mātua tūpuna. Ka kite i te tai o raka taura. Ka tere, ka tai ki te pokopoko o rotu. Ka tai hoki au ki Taranaki a te wāhi ta pāne i amaki. Hāre tonu atu ka tai ki te ārai o tā huhu. Tai hoki ki te kāgo e nei noho nei, ka kapuaki a Moksma. Ka rukuhia ngā wai. Kia kake ai tātou ki te tehi o hauturu. Mui a te ao. Kia mā taki hoki i ngā poeto o toi te huatahi. Nāna ko ho mairangi ko kapu katoa ngā iwi o tāmaki makaurau putanoa. Whakawhiti atu ki maunga uika ko taihua te tangata. Kia kite atu au i te poka, i a poka noa. Mā reira ka kitea maunga rei tū mai rā e tipa. Koutou te whānau ko tae mai mihi ake ana kia koutou. Ka titiro maunga rei, ka titiro ki ararotonga. Ko whauwhau te tangata. Te waiwai ko tuku ka mau maharatia. Ipukura maki ka mihi. Kia mihi a hoki, te maunga whakahirehira i a maunga kie ko tupiriri te tangata. Nā tērā ka tui a hoki a koutou, ko tae mai me ana hoa tokatoru. Maunga kie ka titiro ki a maunga whau, ko te tangata ko hua kai waka, ko waio hua, tēnei ka mihi, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Ka ki te iarimutahi, ka heke mai te waihoro tū ka tai ki tēnei whare. Ka kapuaki i te hurahura ko ngaro. Me ki ngā tāonga o te mate. Mau mai nā, ki o koutou ringa, me etahi atu. Tēnei ka mihi, tēnei ka tangi. E hara i te mea ko ware. Ka kitea, ka mihia, ka tangi tēnā koutou. Hoki wairua mai, noho wairua mai. Taonga o te mate kia koe taonga iwi. Ngāu ko maki, ngāu ko ngāuri ko tatu mai nei i tēnei rangi. Āpiti hono, tātai hono, koutou, kei tua o te tatu o te wāhi ngaro, koutou kia koutou. Āpiti hono, tātai hono, tātou te hongo ora, ko tae mai nei i tēnei rangi, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kei aku rangatira. Ngā whāia, ngā mātua ko tatu mai nei i tēnei rangi. Ko tā koutou te maiti whanaunga, kaihana anō hoki tēnei ko tū nei ki te tuku mihi kia koutou. Ako unuhia te pōtai kauri hera, nā mautonu ana. Ki ngā rau o te huia. Rau toroa. Ka whātoro atu kia koutou ko tae mai. Nā rire, tēnei te mihi. He tautoko ki tēnei nāku kia tātou ko tae mai nei ki tēnei rangi whakahirehira. He tautoko ki tēnei nāku ki ngā mea whakai ana. Kia whakarite te tahi ture, pire te pēnei te āhua. Hei ora ai te mana, ko ngaro, ko moi i ngā tau. Kia kitea, kia rāngona, kia kōrerohia. Kawera wā maki, iwi, tāngata, whenua, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. E kore pēr au e ruku tia te hohonutanga o e rā ingoa e rā kōrero. Mōhio katoa tātou. Nāna ko manuhiri. Kaula moks tēnā kaurua. E reki muri ko marae āriki. Ko hau tēnā. Tatu ake kia tāwhia ki te rangi, e te iwi, ka nui ngā mihi kia koutou. Tēnā koutou. Tatu ake kia ngā whetu. Puta katoa te tini o kaipara, tui nui a tātou ko tae mai nei tēnei rangi, nei te mihi. Nā reira, me mihi hoki ngā ringa ngā waiwai, mahi ana ngā mahi a muri nei, kia tika ai a mua, koe o ki tēnei ko te a muatanga, ko te ana matatanga, ka kitea ka rangona, i te rā nei, nā rere karama. Ka nui tēnei mihi aku kia koutou, ko te mea nui, kia whakatauri a koutou, i roto e te tahi reo, mōhi o tia, māramati ana e tātou. Nā reira, tēnā koutou e kara e tame koutou, te iwi, tēnā koutou. I runga i te ngākau iti, tēnā koutou, ngā me moa te pōri, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai anō tātou katoa. He aha te hau, he aha te hau, e wawara mai, he siu he rakina, nā ia mai te pupu taraki hiti, uta e tiki nā tu e a te kōtiu ko ia te pou hakai roka tu, i wai te mata, i o uairangi e. Kia tūturu owhiti whakamaua, kia tīnā.
Tīnā.
Au me hui e.
Tāki.
Kia ora rā tātou katoa. Eke kāhui.
Atu i te tau o taro wera pa titero atu, ki kia mata kio, i o whanaunga a te kawera o kei reira a, ka titero ki tērā, ka titero puta noa i te motu nei. Ko ngā whanaunga katoa e ngā iwi kua tai mai nei ki roto i tēnei whare, tēnei te mihi kia koutou. Ka ki te kanohi ka hoki mahara. Ka hoki mahara ki a rātou kua whawhai, kua tautohe mo tēnei kaupapa. O reira e mihi ana ki a koe, e Robin. I tō pāpā a horia e mihi ana. Ka huri te hakaro ki a Eru Thompson, i tūtahi tāwa, i roto i te whare o Waitākere kaunihera. No reire mihi ana ki a koe e Eru. Ka huri te hakaro ki a Denise Yates, no Waitākere, no te pōri o Waitākere, e mihi ana, e tautoko ana i tēnei kaupapa. Ka huri ki a Philip Taito Fields. Nā tana mahi, tōna poti, ki te tāo o te kawaratanga, a ka pāhi te pire kia hakatū i tēnei ture mo Waitākere. No reire e mihi ana kia koutou e kawarau. E mihi ana kia koutou e kawarau, e haere tonu i roto i tēnei kaupapa. E tautoko ana au i te mihi nei a tōku whanaunga a Paura, a Ropata Paura. I roto i tēnā he tino mihi kia koutou e kawarau. Kei a koutou te rā, kei a koutou te mana, kei a koutou te kōrero. Nō reira e oku whanaunga, e hoki mahara ki te wā i kōrero tōku māma, e kōtiro tonu ana ia, nā whaitiri i tiaki ia. Nō reira e mihi ana kia koutou i roto i tēnā taupapa. E hara tēnei te haka roa te kōrero, kei a koutou tēnā, e mihi ana ki a koe. E tika tēnā e huruhuru kiwi ai. No reire e mihi ana ki a koutou mo te roa o tēnei kaupapa. Tēnā koutou. Kia ora mai koutou, kia ora mai tātou katoa e te whānau. Tēnā koutou, kia ora. Get up and sing me a song, councillors. Te aroha, te hakapono, me te rangi mai e tātou e. Nā e tuana rātou i roto i tēnā kaupapa. No reire, e mihi ana ki a rātou moi mai rā i roto i ngā ringaringa tōtoro tātua. Haere tonu tātou i roto i ta haipapa i tuku ihotia. E rātou hei haipapa mō tātou katoa. Kia ora mai tātou whānau.
me ngā mema o te kaunihera. Ngā mema o te kaunihera e noho nei ki mua i a mātou te iwi o te kawerau āmaki tēnei rangi. No reira ko te mea tuatahi ka wehi ki ai hua, ko i rā hoki te tīmatanga me te whakamutunga mea katoa, kuroria ki tani ngota. Kia huri atu rā, kia rātau, ki o mātou mātua tūpuna kua ngaro i te tiroanga kanoi, rātau kua wehi ki te pō, e moi mai rā, i roto i ngaringini o te atua. Hoki mai e ki te kanoi ora ki tō mātou kuini te ariki nui e noho mai reirunga te torona tapu o nā tūpuna mātua. Heke iho ki te whare kāhuariki, ta tiu iho ki a mātou ki te iwi nui tonu e noho nei tēnei rā. No reira me miha tu rā, i ako whaia e mau maira i ngā whakāhua a o mātou mātua tūpuna. Kia hariata, kia hori, kia rātou katoa. Kia oki mai ki kone ki te te pūnei, ka miha tu rā ki te iwi. I would like to say on behalf of Te Kawerau Āmaki this morning, and indeed those of our relatives who have come here from Ngāti Pātua, I'd like to thank Paura. I can claim him as my nephew. His father was my cousin. So I greet Ngāti Pātua coming here today, Ngāti Manuhiri, Ngāti Pāua. And I would like you to note these tribes that are here to support us. Ngāti Whanaunga. Me te maha o ngā iwi hapu and the many other hapu that are here today. You'll let them know who they all are, right? Good, thank you. Otherwise you'll get the sack. But I would also like to greet those of my old friends from yesteryear who were part of the establishment of this deed, along with my good friend. We used to batter about it all when we first started this, and you've just got a little bit more grey hair than I. But I do want to thank Council for allowing us to come here today, because this is the most important event that has come before us to do with our whenua. Since the time of the deed of settlement with the Crown. But I look back over the years and think about those lands that were given by my ancestors for native schools, native hospitals, that never eventuated. But from owning all of what you could see in West Auckland down to one little island, Taitomo, or the Gap, the west coast there, it was only been through 35 years of mine fighting with the Crown that we were able to get an agreement in principle, deed of settlement, and now look forward to the future for our children, many who are here today. I'm going to end on that note because the time is going and we just want to get there. Thank you, thank you. Kia ora tātou katoa. Ka pai. No song.
Kia ora. We do just want to get there. This has been a long road, especially for all of you sitting on the other side of the table. So just want to acknowledge again everyone here today and everyone you're bringing with you who can't be here in the flesh as well. Is it, Nick, did you want to kick off, or are we going to go to Te Kawerau first with Ed?
Okay, I've been instructed in my job rests on the line, so I'll go first. Just te tuatahi mihi kawana I rungia tātou katoa kua whakarau I ka mai kei raru te kārangatanga o tō tātou taonga te Waikatākere no reira tēnei te kaupapa e here here ana I a tātou I te rānei. I'm just acknowledging everyone that's come here in support of our taonga, of all of our taonga being the Waitakere Rangers, and I think that everyone in this room has a real passion for that. Whether you're Māori, Te Kawerau Āmaki, Ngāti Whātua, e rātu, whether you're Pākehā, whether you're an Aucklander or a New Zealander, I think everyone in this room today, you're here because of your passion. So just acknowledging that passion and acknowledging all of the people here today. I also just to acknowledge all of the iwi that have turned up today, and the ones that I've seen. Ngāti Whātua o Rākei, Ngāti Whātua o Kaipara are here, Tainui, Waikato Tainui are here. I've seen Ngāti Manuhiri, Ngāti Rehua. It's a who's who of the zoo in Tāmaki Makaurau, taino atu ki te motu katoa. So, Ngāpuhi. Yeah. We can't forget Ngāpuhi, ngā mihi. And if I've missed anyone, then sincere apologies for that. What I really wanted to do today is just have cast our minds back on the journey we've been through over the last few years on this now, noting of course it has been 17 years since the deed since the bill was passed, and that's a long time. I think member Coney summed that up really well. The patience of Te Kawerau Maki, the backing of the community for this since that time. In 2023, in June, this committee sat and directed us as staff, as officers, to progress the deed of acknowledgement. In 2024, we brought back a paper to this table, as well as to all of the local boards, the FO, Waitakere, and Rodney, all of which supported, agreed in principle to this deed, and the four key elements of this deed, which was a non-statutory strategic plan, work programs that shaped how all of our parties would work together to deliver on that strategic plan, and the measuring and monitoring, which is a legislative requirement anyway, and the involvement of Te Kawerau Maki, and of course a vehicle to deliver those being a joint committee. In March, we went through and have consulted widely with the community through our processes that Council has. We've received some feedback. I won't go into detail myself. I'll hand that over to Michelle. But what I do want to assure this board is that we have taken our time to listen to those concerns. We've fine-tuned a number of the elements of these to listen to and respond to those concerns raised. And we think we've brought back to you something that represents what the community wants. We've also been gracious enough that Te Kawerau Maki have worked with us alongside us and have agreed to these things. So that there is the journey that we've been on that's brought us here before you today. And I'll just pass it over to Michelle. She's going to walk through the details of that paper and just talk through some of the details of... Is it? Yep. And then I'll hand it over to Ed after that. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'll start with the public engagement. So in March and April this year, for more than one calendar month, we took the key elements that Council agreed in principle, we took them out to the public to see what they thought, and including how the community can have an ongoing role under the proposed deed arrangements. As you've heard today already, the majority of the submissions are in support. We received a total of 2,251 pieces of feedback. I, hand on heart, read every single one of those submissions, and so did our independent research agency. And that support is not just supporting the idea of a deed or that we should have a deed. That's support for the deed to include the things, the specific things that we have proposed. So that support shows that our key elements are on the right track. For example, within the Auckland, within submitters who told us they were from the Auckland region, the support number is 58%. But we also, as Nick said, we listened to the people who raised questions and concerns. So the draft deed and the joint committee terms of reference on the table today is our attempt to balance, addressing those concerns, balance that with, what so many people have supported, a deed that commits to meaningful partnerships and puts actions to words to get things done in our Waitakere ranges. So what does that draft deed look like. You have that with your materials. So the first thing I want to talk about in the deed is clause 2.3 that sets out the geographic scope of this deed. It's clear that the deed, it clearly says the deed will only apply to public land within the heritage area that is managed by Auckland Council and to Crown land managed by DOC. So what this means is the deed will not apply to private land, won't apply to water, roads managed by AT, lands owned or managed by Watercare, or Crown land managed by anyone other than DOC. Clause 4 of the deed is the Crown and Council acknowledging, Clause 3 of the deed sets out the relationship of Te Kawerau-Maki with the heritage area, and that was drafted by Te Kawerau-Maki and independently reviewed by an external historic expert. Then at Clause 4, Council and Crown acknowledges that relationship. Clause 5 sets out the identified opportunities, for Te Kawerau-Maki to contribute to the management of land in the heritage area, or the public land in the heritage area, in accordance with the Act. And I'll now talk about those 3 opportunities. The first opportunity is overarching strategic plan for the heritage area. We looked at what strategic planning documents currently apply in the heritage area, and we found a gap. There's currently no single comprehensive and long-term plan that's specific to the entire heritage area. There's bits and pieces of different things applying here, but nothing specific to the heritage area. So what this strategic plan can do is provide that shared long-term vision, set outcomes that everyone wants to achieve, and translate the high-level management objectives in the Heritage Area Act down to what it means for us implementation on the ground day to day. And of course, to develop a strategic plan, there would be further engagement with the community to understand what's important to them, what vision do they want to see, what sort of heritage area do they want to leave for their children, their grandchildren, and the future generations. So that's a strategic plan. The second opportunity in the deed is the joint development of work programs to achieve the strategic plan outcomes. So this could draw on items from our local work programs, regional work programs, DOC, Kawerau, and potentially, council-controlled organisations have it all in one place, everything that is happening in the heritage area. And that'll give us visibility, it'll enable different parts of council to collaborate, reduce duplication, and importantly, it'll allow us to work across silos, which is one of the frustrations that we heard through the public consultation. That work program will also allow us to see, what decisions local boards or governing body committees have got coming up, and for the parties to say, hey, there's something we want to feed into, talk to the community, come up with some advice, and then give that advice to the local boards or the governing body. We can create our own work program activities and recommend them to, local boards or committees for them to adopt and pick up in action. So that is the work program. The third opportunity in the deed is joint monitoring, and that includes joint monitoring of how we're going in achieving the strategic plan outcomes. It can involve, for example, reviewing progress updates, holding organisations accountable for delivery, and advocating for the heritage area's interests, and supporting decision-making about prioritisation or resource allocation. That joint monitoring can also include monitoring the Heritage Area Act itself, supporting the council to produce the 5-yearly State of Environment monitoring report that is required by the Act. Currently, what happens is, there's lack of sustained political attention, every 5 years, in between those 5-year cycles, and what's identified in the monitoring report doesn't really get picked up. So what the joint committee parties, so what the deed parties can do is, set consistent KPIs to monitor, coordinate data and content contributions from everyone, provide comment to assist in the drafting, and then recommend a draft report to council for final adoption. And the intention is that, with that sustained political attention, with more effective data coming in, we can lead to more informed decision making about how to implement the Act. So that, and then at clause 6, we reiterate all the limitations in the legislation, including that this deed does not affect the lawful rights or interests of any persons, and that includes, for example, all the private landowners and residents that live within the heritage area. So that is the deed that we are seeking your approval for. As a vehicle to implement that deed, we are recommending a joint committee of council under the Local Government Act as agreed in principle in December 2024. That's the vehicle to enable everyone to come together, work together, and do all those opportunities. We did consider alternatives, for example, a liaison coordinator person or an informal group, but we are still recommending a joint committee because we think it is the most effective means to achieve the intentions of the deed. It gets everyone around one table, it's direct, it's open and transparent, with more opportunities for the community to participate. You know, and these are all things that the public submission have said are important to them, rather than, for example, things being done behind closed doors. I'll now talk through some key aspects of the proposed terms of reference, which you also have with you. The name. So even though the legal structure is still going to be a joint committee under the Local Government Act, we're proposing that it be named the Waitakere Ranges Heritage Area Forum. That we think that the name better reflects the vibe and intention of this forum. We want it to be a place for everyone who loves and cares about the heritage area to come together, work together and discuss issues specific to the heritage area. And there are no legal or governance implications behind that name. It's just a name on the joint committee. The committee's purpose will be to implement the elements of the deed and promote the purpose and objectives of the Act. You know, these are all things we already have a legal obligation to do anyway. And the committee's powers will be, importantly, to provide advice, advocacy, and make recommendations on heritage area matters to council and DOC decision makers. There's lots of reasons why it is advisory, but a key one is because it preserves democratic accountability, you know, by having final decisions being made by elected members. And that was one of the things that we heard really strongly in the public submissions. You know, people want control to remain with the elected members. We heard that, and this is how we're addressing it. And ultimately, just to be clear, decision-making authority is staying where they currently are, with our local boards, with our committees, and with DOC. What this committee will do is it'll make decisions and recommendations to our decision makers about the strategic plan, about the work programs, about the monitoring, and it will promote the interests of the heritage area and raise awareness of its local, regional, national significance, which you've heard about today from the local board. Membership. Who will sit on this joint committee? We've provided 3 options in the paper, and the option that we are recommending in the terms of reference consists of 11 members. That's 5 Te Kawerau working with 6 others. Those 6 others are 3 local board representatives to be agreed between Waitakere Rangers and FO, 2 Auckland Council governing body representatives, and 1 Department of Conservation representative. So this composition is slightly different to the 50-50 that we consulted on. And again, this is another one of the changes that we made based on the public feedback. We think that the slight majority of Auckland Council and DOC together, that better reflects the public ownership and democratic governance of public land. And in the terms of reference, we explicitly preserve the position of Ngāti Whātua to be involved in this joint committee if they want to later down the line. And if they do want to join, then their members will be taken from the 5 members currently allocated to Te Kawerau, so no changes on the council and Crown side. Community involvement is important, and we heard that loud and clear through the public submissions. The way we're going to involve the community in the joint committee's activities, there's multiple ways. For example, the meetings will be open to the public, except as provided in the Local Government Official Information Meetings Act, and those open meetings will set aside time for public input. In the terms of reference, we've specified public input time that is above and beyond the default in our standing orders, because we really want the community to be able to come here and see it as their place to talk about their issues too. And also the committee can invite guests to come to the table and participate in the discussions, and just try to make it really open. And given the committee is to have an advisory function, we think it'll be more inclusive and effective for the community to participate directly through these processes. So that's the terms of reference for the joint committee that we're seeking your support today to go to governing body. And the ultimate decision on establishing the committee will sit with the governing body. You've heard from the Waitakere Rangers local board earlier today. Last week, we took these same decisions to the Faux local board and the Waitakere Rangers local board, and both voted in support of the draft deed and the joint committee. So I'll end on next steps. So if this committee agrees to the recommendations on the table today, we will then pass the deed and the terms of reference over to Te Kaurawa Maki and to DOC to make their own decisions. We've worked really closely with both of them in developing these drafts, and they've both indicated their support in principle. If everyone agrees, we'll organise for the chairs to sign, and the mayor to sign the deed, and we'll gazette it, give notice in the gazette, and then seek a decision from the governing body to establish a joint committee. Thank you. I'll pass that way.
Kia ora, Michelle. Thank you. Ed.
Kia ora koutou. I won't follow up with quite as much detail, but I acknowledge all of your work. I just want to firstly acknowledge it's been 17 years, obviously, since the Act. In that time, a kawerau child has been born and is now finishing high school while we've been waiting. So just putting it in a practical term. Personally, I've been working on this for 12 years, so hopefully my efficacy for getting things done improves greatly, but I've certainly learnt some good lessons along the way. I want to acknowledge our whānau today for coming. It's for them that we're doing this. I also want to thank our friends who are here today and who supported through submissions and who sent us notes of support. Many schools across West Auckland and our environmental and other community groups also who overwhelmingly supported through the feedback. And I want to thank the council team for their extraordinary work in a very pressure cooker situation, and DOC as well. And I want to thank you, Chair, for having the courage to hear my growingly shrill concerns and doing something about it. So I guess I will try to keep mine quite short. 4 things. The first is what this area means to kawerau. We have drafted, obviously, in the deed before you, the draft deed, a statement of association, which outlines essentially that we've always been there and that we will always be there. This is our heartland, but we have had periods in history of a very hard time. And part of the hopeful outcome today is to build on recent successes, starting with Te Wārana's work leading us through our treaty settlement in a brighter, more just future for us. I also want to note we're not here talking about a treaty settlement as such, but our treaty settlement, which bound the entire Crown, including Council, had a promise in it. It had an apology in it and a promise, and that promise was to work with us, to collaborate with us, to have mutual respect, mutual trust. And so that promise in our treaty settlement also binds the Council. And it was a hard-fought and hard-won settlement. This Act, the deed, is promised in the legislation. And I've heard some nonsense about, oh, it's not compelled. Well, you don't put things in legislation if you don't mean to do them. That's the definition of bad faith. So those people who held those views can take those views and stick them where the sun does not shine. We are pushing and we have asked for what is simply on the tin, and that is a deed of acknowledgement that sets out our association, and then 2, sets out those opportunities for us to contribute, to work together in the spirit of collaboration for the park. It's not for Kawerau, it's for the outcomes of the park. It's our right to be there. We want to be there, and we already are, and are already doing the work. We are a massive advocate every time, and people around this committee, for my time here, know I'm a massive advocate for the West, know I'm a massive advocate for this area, and know that Kawerau is also that. So this has taken a very long time, but I think what we've arrived at today should be celebrated, and all of the effort, all of the debate that's brought us here all of the years, this is the start of bringing everyone together, because there are issues in Waitakere. There is a left hand, right hand not knowing what the other is doing. And our hope is for us and DOC, who are the administering agency of the Act and have land in there, and importantly Council, our partners at Council, to come together and sort all of that out and get on with it, get on with the job. That's what we're really keen to do, is just get on with the mahi. So I want to thank you all again for getting us to this point, and I look forward to a unanimous yes. So thank you very much. Kia ora.
Was it now time to play the video?
Sorry, yes, Chair, if you can indulge us with that.
Just have a video.
Toia tainui tapatu ki te moana mawai e tō, mā te whakatau e tō. He tāra wai nuku, he tāra wai rangi pū, nui te hira tīnia mōnua nau mai, nau mai. Nau mai ra e tāne kākau tāu, ahi te awa wai piku piku I whiti ki a mā taki taki na koe tini e te mano nāku koe tiki atu I te wānui a tāne. Tāne mingoi tāne rangahau takotu atu ana ki te ara ki te tahi turu turu haere haere ana te bai o te hiko o mārama e tākina ana mai e te koa muri hau. Ki runga o wai hihi, ki runga o wai ha, ha turuki turuki paneke paneke. Turuki turuki paneke paneke. Hara mai te toki, haumi e hui e, taiki e.
Arā, ko te kāwau māro, te rere whakamua ai, ko ia, ko au, ko te kaitiaki o te wā. Our tribal lands and waters flow through our veins. Te wā nui a tiriwa, rugged, powerful, peaceful, enduring, just like us.
At the moment we are standing on Puketotara, which is my mountain. And over here behind me is Waiti, which is the awa, or the river. And further on is Te Henga, which is the Papakainga. Henga. And that is where the Kauroamaki had their pā and marae.
Te mahi ngā kai o tēnei takiwā, he titi, he mutton bird kia koutou, and ke tērā taho o te moana nei, ka heke heo ki te taho pari, nā ke rira ngā titi. Nā ko te kaitiaki o tēnei mea o te titi, he tuatara.
Tuki tuki, te manawa, rere ana, ngā mahara. E rongo ana, te wairua. I tēnei mea, e kia nei ko te aroha. E te witinga, o te rā. Taku marama, I te pō.
The Waitakere Ranges mean so much more to me than what words could describe. The connection between my DNA and my whenua helps me realise where my roots lie.
Kia ora. I am Ursula Tiriana Tawhai. I am the great-great-grandmoko of Sally Pavituinga Tauma Thompson. The Waitakere Ranges, Te Wānui a Tiriwa, means to me as much as your home means to you.
Hi, my name is Tia. I'm connected to Dakota of Rocky, and I like going to the Waitakere Ranges to see all the plants.
Kia ora, I'm Mila, and I'm connected to Dakota on Rocky through my little Horiwinakere, her name is George, and I like going to the Waitakere Ranges because it's named after my tupu.
Kia ora, my name is Janet Hatch. Koro George Paul was my great-grandfather. The Waitakere Ranges is really important to me and our iwi just because it's such a beautiful place, it's such a beautiful piece of land. For me as a physio, it's really important, like tatinana, so being able to get out there, exercise, stretch your legs.
And the Waitakere Ranges is special to me and my family.
Kia ora, I'm Steve. I'm the oldest grandson to Horiwinakere. Born and raised out in the west. The Waitakere Ranges is important to me because that's where I've been raised and I've spent my whole childhood, and I'm bringing up my children in the on the whenua as well. Kia ora.
Everything has a mauri, everything has an essence. So if we look after the forest or if we look after our natural resources, then in turn they will look after us.
The Māori people of the forest is very, very sacred. It's not only because in the early days it was where you got your food from, but you also got your medicine from. It was the way we lived in the forest because the forest was very, very important.
We don't do things now to make us feel better. We do things now to ensure the future and to make sure that the resources are available for the generations to come.
You see what I mean? Can you pull it tight, Rob? Yeah, that's supposed to be a tail. Is that a tail of a horse? Hey, there's my horse.
Kia ora, thank you so much for that and bringing more of the faces into the why here today. So when Ed told me there was going to be a video, I knew it would be pretty emotional watching it. So, and I also acknowledge Papa George and said that he didn't quite make it, but he'll be here with us today, making sure we do the right thing. So kia ora. We will now move to questions. I was going to move it, but I've had a tap on the shoulder from one of my Westie mates, Toe. So Councillor Henderson will move and Member Hennaday will second. Otherwise, he'll block me on Twitter if I...
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate that.
I did add, and just to clarify, I did add a D after some discussion with Councillor Turner. There was potentially potential for an amendment or some other issues coming up. So I just wanted to make it clear on the record again. In practice, this is... so I'll just read it. Note, for the avoidance of doubt, the deed does not relate to private land and that the proposed joint committee's functions, including the development of a strategic plan, will not affect the lawful rights and interests of private landowners. That is what it says in the agenda item, but I thought I would prefer this was just, well, anything can happen around this table, but I thought this might prevent some of the whakamā that might come just by making that clear with a D there. So we'll go to the questions first. Kia ora, Councillor Darby.
Thanks, Chair, and want to acknowledge Te Warana. Good to see you. And Ed, great work, Ed. Thank you. And Hugh, good to see your face again here. And I know you've beavered behind this, and Nick and Michelle for the work. And Kauro, whānau that are here today, acknowledge the big, broad family. So look, mine's probably going to be the boring questions, and it's good to see this, but I just want to check the D. The D is it's a brief description of, I think, paragraph 23, but paragraph 23 actually goes beyond private. It explains that it doesn't cover, Auckland transport, land, etc. But I actually, I know these things get wordsmithed up, but has legal actually looked at the D? Has legal got a view on the D? Because I'm actually concerned about the word interests, that the Joint Committee's functions will not affect the interests. I know the lawful rights are protected, so does legal have a view on all the wording in D, please?
I'd just like to hand that over to Kim, who sits in our legal team, who's been working with us all the way through this entire process.
Oh, kia ora, Councillor Darby, through the chair. Yes, I drafted D, and the wording lawful rights and interests is drawn directly from section 32D of the Act, which is that the deed of acknowledgement does not affect the lawful rights or interests of any person. And the words any person have been changed here to private landowners to address the issue raised by Councillor Turner, as I understand it.
Okay, I just want to check that. So the functions of the Joint Committee, we're talking about the functions of the Joint Committee, that is over the heritage area, right? And that is more than just the public land, right? Correct? So their functions extend beyond the public land. And I'm just testing, because once they're bolted down, they are bolted down. And I'm just testing whether the functions, say the functions of the committee, it might highlight an activity that is occurring on private land which affects, beyond the boundary. Now, that might affect the interests of the private owner, correct? If they express a view on a private activity which is affecting the heritage area.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, in our view, the deed very squarely complies with the Act. The purpose of the Joint Committee, which is obviously not a decision for this committee today, the extent of your involvement in that decision is a recommendation to the governing body, the incoming governing body. The purpose of the Joint Committee is to give effect to the deed, to implement the deed, in order to further the purpose and objectives of the Act. So, we're comfortable that the purpose of the deed involves non-statutory matters. It involves obviously a non-statutory plan and an advocacy role. And in our view, it doesn't run foul or is not contrary to the limitations in the Act, which are simply set out there.
Okay.
I'm satisfied with that. Oh, just your mic.
The other decision is the establishment of what's referred to as the forum now, and the makeup of the forum. Are we deciding on the option of that today, or is that being left to others?
No, due to your terms of reference, only governing body can establish a joint committee,
okay.
And so that's why today you are considering the matter, because it's obviously central to the arrangements, but the extent of your consideration is a recommendation to governing body on the establishment of a joint committee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And just for clarity, it's our understanding that it will be, as we're at the end of a term, established as part of the overall establishment of, we had advisory panels like the small business advisory panel, lots of things that were established at the beginning of this term. It would be part of the omnibus of appointments and establishments. But our recommendation going forward is that happens. Councillor Sayers.
Thank you, Chair. I'd also like to acknowledge what we've heard today about the history getting to where we are today and to warmly welcome the different iwi and hapu that are here to, I guess, celebrate the decision. Through you, Chair, my question's more around the Crown and just trying to understand from, I guess, day one, the establishment of the forum or the joint committee, their power or their, what's the expectations, I guess, that this might build over time, but I guess ultimately we were hoping for, I suppose we'd be hoping for some sort of financial resource eventually, but can we just have quite clear about, I mean, it's wonderful that the Crown's there, but who from the Crown, how's it going to be best represented? We've obviously got the committee, we've got members on that. Can we just get a feeling at the most kind of senior level that this is going up to in the Crown and their engagement and involvement going forward?
Thank you for your question, Councillor, and through the Chair. Just firstly, there has been an apology from the Department of Conservation who can't make it today. Otherwise, they'd be sitting alongside us and would be able to answer this themselves. Just a few key points, and I think we've worked through these through the process, but recognising, of course, the local, the regional, and the national significance of this space. The Department of Conservation has a role in that advocacy space around really highlighting the national significance of this, and that's why we thought it was pertinent that they are a part of this conversation and process, despite not having the largest land tenure inside this area. They also bring really significant advice in the form of officers that deliver quite a lot of work. They can provide support in that way. Their staff are available to do work in this space. In terms of who would sit on the proposed joint committee, that is likely to sit with the Director of Department of Conservation Director of Auckland. That is a third tier down from the Director General. And they would likely sit on this. That has been consistent with other forums and other statutory bodies that have been formed, such as the Tupuna Maunga Authority that had a director sitting on it that represented the Crown. And I believe, although I'm a little bit in my old age, just forgetting a little bit, but plays a really strong role in the Hauraki Golf Forum as well. So that's where it would sit, but what they would hold is the full delegation of the Minister in exercising her responsibilities and being able to deliver that, and would bring along, have that, that role of coordinating their staff, that advice and their support.
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor Sayers. Deputy Mayor, Leslie Simpson.
Kia ora, thank you. A bit of a milestone day, I think. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I actually know the answer. Michelle, I'm going to direct them to you, but I'm going to ask them for public record because I think there is a little bit of potentially misunderstanding for some people who haven't been directly involved in others. So I just want to ask my questions so they are very, very public, for want of a better word. So my first question is, would this deed affect public access to the ranges?
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. No, this deed will not affect public access. Decisions on public access remain with the Auckland Council.
Thank you. And my second question, this deed or this joint committee, it's not a co-governance arrangement, is it?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No, this is not a co-governance arrangement. What this is an advisory forum with local board, with council representatives, with iwi representatives, with central government representatives that will come together, discuss issues specific to the heritage area, and then make recommendations back to decision makers. So decision making will stay where it currently is.
Kia ora, thank you. Chair, I just wanted to put that on public record because I think there is a whole lot of incorrect information out there. Thank you.
Kia ora, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Councillor Turner.
Thank you very much, and acknowledging everyone who's here today. Just a couple of questions to whoever's the right person to answer it. In Te Karea's treaty settlement, you've got statutory acknowledgements and deeds of recognition, and I see that they are over the Tihanga Recreational Reserve, the Swanson Conservation Area, the Henderson Valley Scenic Reserve, Watapu Scientific Reserve, Henderson Creek, and I've left a couple of others out because I'm not sure exactly what their geographic location is. How does those acknowledgements fit or stitch together with what is being done today?
I'll give it a nudge, and if the lawyer balks at their eyes at us, then I'll hand it over to them. But through the chair, so again, just noting that this is an advisory committee. This committee will make advice to the decision makers, and then the decision makers then makes a choice as to whether they want to do what this advisory committee may do. Now, with those statutory acknowledgements and those sorts of other settlement mechanisms, that is another thing that a decision maker has to take into regard when making their decision. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean they have to do what is in site or what is recommended from the this advisory committee, but it is just another element of which they have to take into regard when they make their decisions.
Thank you. And so that leads me on to my next question. Like the Maori Independent Statutory Board, I know it's a totally different structure, but I on the front page of their website, it says that dealing with that entity does not take away the necessity to deal with all iwi independently. So we're talking about this being an inclusive thing, which is going to take away the silos, but that we will still be required, council, to engage with Te Kaurau separately on another parallel track at the same time as this entity, correct?
Well, in a formal way, yes, but bearing in mind, of course, that if you're following the recommendations of this advisory committee, you can have some certainty that Te Kawerau Maki are behind any of the decisions and recommendations that are made. So, I mean, if Ed would like to answer that, he may.
I can have a crack at it. The short answer is yes, but the better answer, or the longer answer, is I think there'll be efficiency by having kawerau at that table in terms of some of those decisions where they be relevant, or engagement rather, where it be relevant. If it comes through that committee, I would not be expecting that we would have a big other engagement that would look totally different outside of that. But it would probably be case by case. But I would expect efficiencies.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to thank you, Ed, and Te Kaurau Maki for coming to the Parks Committee with a interim tracks plan and offering more track. A plan on opening more tracks, and you were supported by other members of the community, like the track users, etc. You may remember that in that meeting, after you had presented, the General Manager of Parks of Auckland Council told us there was going to be another group advisory panel set up just for tracks. So my fear is, how can we guarantee this brings everything together? Would Te Kaurau be open to this committee structure fitting inside the council, as in the mayor's setting up this committee, the governing body is setting up this committee? We could set this committee up under the governing body, under the planning and policy committee, beside the parks committee, in the same manner. Rather than having it sitting under this strategic plan, delivering the strategic plan structure. What would you say to that?
Do you want me to refer to Rachel just on the track opening plan?
Kia ora tātou. Thank you, Chair. I think one of the things that's important to clarify here is that the deed and the forum are very much about looking across the heritage area and those lands that directly relate to that. A track reopening plan is a very specific thing that would happen within that area, and the regional park management plan has got a prescribed process to follow in respect of the future development of recreational opportunities, which includes a public consultation and engagement process. It also requires an amendment to the regional park management plan once that's been developed. So it is quite a specific process with quite a specific engagement approach that does require then that regional park management plan to be amended. So I think it's appropriate that they are treated as separate things, but of course the forum may well very much have a view or provide some advice into that process.
Thank you.
Councillor Tuna, I think Ed has a brief comment.
Sorry, I was gonna have a very quick crack at answering that too, and I think the first part is we're open to whatever is efficient. We want to get on and do the job, right? So we're keen on efficiency too. I can give you that assurance. In terms of the strategic plan, I think irrespective of where it sits, there needs to be a plan for the area. In the same way, when you go to the Lakes District in the UK, there's a plan for the Lakes District. It's how are we going to pull all this together and do the job. So I don't know what that plan looks like. Hopefully it has some good efficiencies in it.
Thank you. I'll save my other comments to it. Thank you.
Kia ora. Councillor Henderson.
Oh, thanks, Chair. I wasn't expecting it to come to me so quick, but I've got a few. So you have the support by local board in the report of the consultation. Just as the Waitakere Ward Councillor, can I just get a picture of my ward? How does I don't know, my maths wasn't too good at school. Could I get a combined level of support for the deed for residents of the Waitakere Ward?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so I have the support numbers from both the Henderson Massey Local Board and the Waitakere Rangers Local Board together, and that is 59% in support, which is above the overall.
Bonza, thank you so much. Look, do you have any comment on how this proposal complies with Te Tiriti o Waitangi principles?
And just recognising, of course, who we have in the room today, and not to, I guess, dilute any of the real passion and thoughts and thinking behind this. But of course, Te Tiriti o Waitangi and the principles of the Te Tiriti, as opposed to just the treaty itself, there are a number of principles in there, things like partnership, things like informed decision making, things like reciprocity, righting the wrongs of the past, things like ensuring that both sides act in good faith. Those things ring true throughout the ideals of the principles of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and I believe that we've worked in this way as council staff and officers to try and knit that into the fabric of the work we've done today.
Thank you, I really appreciate that. That's wonderful to hear. Just in terms, I'm going around the houses a bit now, but in terms of the operation of the advisory forum, are you envisaging public forum and public input to be a part of that process? And how will that structure support local democracy and accountability?
Thank you, Councillor. Absolutely, public input is welcome and very much envisioned as part of the intent of this forum. In the terms of reference, we're setting aside time for public input that is above and beyond the default in standing orders. We really want this to be an open place where people can come, talk about issues specific to the heritage area and have around the table basically everyone they need to hear from, local boards, everyone that needs to hear, local boards, councillors, DOC, iwi, and they can, if the Joint Committee is making significant decisions, we envision there'd be a public consultation submissions process, there'd be education outreach, and partnering with the community to volunteer, deliver programs, do stuff on the ground. I think there was so much opportunities and optimism coming through the public submissions, and I'm really excited to get on with that.
That's wonderful to hear, and thanks so much for your hard work on that. My last one's a cheeky one, but as someone that's lived beneath these maunga my whole life, will this deed and forum result in Te Waunui Aotearoa finally getting the attention it deserves from the rest of the city?
You know, if that's a loaded question, Councillor, but if I may,
I'm sorry.
just leaning on some of our examples that we have at Council, I look to the Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Reserves Board and the work that's been done there to really invest into that site and to put some love and attention into that space. We look at what's happening over in Te Puari o Kaipātaki, where we've seen award-winning playgrounds, and that place is getting a new life into that, and that is based on that idea of collaboration and delivery. I also look at the Tupuna Maunga Authority, and I know that there's been some controversy in there, but there has been more investment into the Maunga in the 10 years of that in its existence than has been done in a very long time prior to that. Of course, this will be a vehicle to highlight some of those big issues and the things that have happened in that space. But ultimately, Councillor, that decision-making will come back to you for you and this table to make those recommendations. So it'll end up back with you, Councillor.
Thank you so much. Thanks for indulging me, Chair.
Kia ora, Councillor. Councillor Fletcher.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I had two questions. Both were around the avoidance of doubt, and Councillor Simpson has raised the first, and that in recognising the enormous amount of work that has gone into this, and for those who might have concern, this is not co-governance, as it's being put today. This is a committee, a forum. But the second question I had, and it relates to a comment that the Mayor made, the regional significance of this, given that it won't be the Policy and Planning Committee that will make this going forward, we'll be looking at a governance structure for an incoming council. Those council laws, will they be specific to the wards? Or, for instance, if there was a regional parks committee in a future council, would there be flexibility around who those council laws representing the governing body might be? I think I know the answer to this, but I just really would like that to be quite clear as we embark on the stage. And also, and I don't need to speak again, Chair, I think your D is really wise, that again, for the avoidance of doubt, that just makes it abundantly clear. But given it is regionally significant, what will the status of the councillors representing the governing body be? I mean, I have great confidence in our ward councillors, and in this situation, Councillor Turner is also the chair of the Parks Committee, so it's very appropriate. But for incoming councillors, how would that work?
Thank you, Councillor, through the Chair. The draft terms of reference simply say 2 elected members from the Auckland Council governing body. So it will be a decision of the incoming governing body because of your terms of reference, which don't allow a committee to establish a subcommittee to establish this joint committee, and the appointment of the appointment process will be akin to, as I think was noted by the Chair, all other appointments where there is no narrowing at this point of it being the ward councillors. It will be open to your usual appointment process across all the governing body members.
Thank you for that clarification.
And to clarify for the room, I think the assumption is, in my experience with these things, that it normally, in these situations, goes to those who want to be on it the most, but also who are local, but that does not preclude others wanting or changing during the term or whatever. But my assumption would be that Waitakere ward councillors would be the ones who would want it most and be most likely, but that doesn't preclude others if that was the case. But that would be down to discussions with the mayor and whoever the mayor is in the new term as well. But just so people in the room understand how that works.
Chair, just so that you can appreciate, my interest is more for an incoming council, but also the governance structure that covers parks more generally, because we have a parks committee, but it doesn't have any delegations. You know, so I think parks, and we're all wanting a greater and sharper focus on Waitakere. So it's really just to make clear these points at this time, so that an incoming mayor can actually look at what governance structures are going to be required to deliver the expectations of the community.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions? We may have. Oh, Councillor Walker.
Got a few questions. The area concerned is a regional park, that's correct?
Thank you, Councillor. The heritage area includes more than just a regional park.
Sure, but much of it's a regional park. And is it fair to say that is it the largest regional park in the Auckland region?
No, it is not.
But it's pretty big. Okay. And it's got a big water supply area in it that's run by Watercare?
Yes, Councillor, but in the deed we are excluding Watercare owned and Watercare managed land.
Okay. So one of the questions that I've got is just around the committee or the constitution of this body. Why would we not have more Auckland councillors on it? Why was that not an option? Yeah. I mean, we've got three options, but we don't have an option where there are more Auckland councillors.
So, through the chair, and thank you for the question, Councillor. I guess we want to make sure there's a balance in between the actual number of people that sit on there, having a ratio of Te Kawara members and future-proof for Ngāti Whātua members to be on that board. Having insurance that there are people from the local board, and we've heard today about the very significance of that, and the fact that they don't get to make a lot of the decisions of this, but they are answerable to their communities about that, as well as having the Department of Conservation. We didn't want to have a significant size of a council. This is representative and similar to other sorts of groups that we have, and therefore we wanted to make sure that that balance is right. A number of councillors also representing the local board's interests, as well as having that balance and that slight majority to elected members, as well as the Department of Conservation.
And the funding is coming exclusively from Auckland Council, isn't it?
We are proposing that, at least for the initial period of this committee, that Auckland Council would, yes, provide the administrative supports, and that is in line with the fact that Auckland Council still owns the land, still manages the land, and you're still the decision makers of the land, so you have responsibilities under that too.
And if I may just add to that, the Department of Conservation will continue to be responsible for their operational costs on their land, so the costs lie with the decision makers. So local board, the cost that they have with regards to the land they administer, that cost sits with them. With the regional park sits with the governing body, and the Department of Conservation lands sits with them.
Okay. And just further to this, Mr. Chair, I mean, does the dockland amount to much? Much of it's Auckland Council, isn't it? And what would Auckland Council be in percentage terms?
I understand that the dock land within the heritage area is less than 1% of the public land.
Okay. So the council's providing all the funding, that's correct, probably for some time into the future, perhaps permanently. Where is other funding coming from?
And so just through the chair, if I may, the costs for running the regional the regional park have always sat with Auckland Council to run the regional park. So has the local parks with the local boards and the Department of Conservation Lands with the Department of Conservation Lands. Nothing in this paper or the advisory committee will change that. It just makes recommendations and provides advice as to what each of those boards will do. I think the matter that Michelle was referring to is the administrative costs of this particular forum, and that is to ensure that we have the meetings, the meeting structure, all of those types of things. We have said from the outset that this must come from our current budgets and the current way we work. So, and we intend to stick to that. That does not preclude that the advisory committee may not make recommendations in LTP years or in future budget envelopes for further investment into the Waitakiris. But we're saying that the actual costs at the moment needs to sit squarely within our current financial envelope. We have done some work and looked at what the administrative costs look like for these, and we've provided that in our consultation documents as well. And we're of the opinion that the most of those costs will actually be in staff costs, and we intend to support the board very much up until at least to the LTP to ensure that we can really sort of make sure that we get that work done within our current envelope of funding.
Sure, so my question was, is council providing all the money? And I'm assuming the answer is yes. That was my question.
For the delivery of operations on the regional parks, that is correct. They have always provided that funding and will continue to provide that funding.
And the other question I've got just goes to accountability. So in terms of the members of this board, who are they accountable to? So the councillors, for example, I'm assuming they'll be responsible to the council. The local board members are democratically elected. What about other members, Doc and Te Kauramaki?
Again, this board is an advisory committee and it makes an advice. The decisions sit with the elected members and with the Department of Conservation, and under the Department of Conservation they are done under delegation. With regards to the advice that it provides and how that operates, they are accountable to the terms of reference which we've provided to you. They must sit within the bounds of that terms of reference and how they may deliver upon the work that they do.
And who's enforcing the terms of reference?
I may have to ask Kim here, but ultimately it's a committee of council. It's Auckland Council's responsibility to enforce that, or to, if there are any times where it errs away from those terms of reference, and then that would be on Auckland Council.
Okay, so just a question around that. There's a specific clause here that refers to that, and it states, review of these terms of reference. These terms of reference may be reviewed and amended at any time by agreement between the forum member parties. But if the council is a minority, how can it exercise any authority?
So firstly, I don't believe that the council are a minority. They'll have 5 seats on here. There'll be 5 seats of Te Kauramaki, and there'll be 1 seat that is belonging to the Department of Conservation. We have put in that review clause because as a bit of a, I guess, if there is any issues with that, then this council can make those decisions. I would also note that under the Local Government Act, that at any time, if the council wishes to establish or disestablish a committee, then there's powers within the Local Government Act that allows them to do so. And yeah, is it? I'm pretty certain. So yeah.
And just in respect of what the what this body does, this forum does, is it conceivable under the Local Government Act or any other act that it could have further authority delegated to it?
It is conceivable that could happen. It's also conceivable that powers may be taken off it.
As is the case with all our advisory panels, all our forums, all our committees, including many that don't have any council members, they're advisory panels with members of the public on them completely. So,
okay, and the last question I've got is, there's a huge amount of time put into the Waitaki Ranges by groups like Ark in the Park. I was the council's representative to that. Ex-councillor Clow was a representative to that. I mean, thousands of hours. Is there any way that there can be any acknowledgement or involvement of, frankly, what amount to very big stakeholders in terms of keeping the taonga alive?
Through the chairs, also in our consultation document, it points out that a number of organisations, the ones that you've spoken about, those voluntary organisations have put their support to this, overwhelmingly from an organisation perspective as well as in terms of those conservation stuff. So we know that there is, some broad support in that regard. Michelle, in her briefing, described the idea that these forums would have the opportunity for public to come and present to them, and certainly through these conversations that we've been having, everyone is welcoming those opportunities for that engagement and that discussion. I'd also point out that Te Kawerau Amaki and other iwi also put in a lot of voluntary time and effort into the delivery of conservation and kaitiakitanga.
Councillor Lee.
Yes, I'm just a bit concerned going through the document, and there's a lot of information in the reports and indeed the deed itself. Nowhere, apart from almost an aside referring to the council, if you like, management, is there any mention whatsoever of the Waitakere Ranges Regional Park in this document? And yet we know, I couldn't give you the percentage, that sort of information, land area should be part of the deed. It's the overwhelming bulk of the public land in the Waitakere Ranges. It has its own particular history, and it's highly valued and always has been since its establishment as the Centennial Memorial Park in 1940. I'm just a bit disappointed and somewhat concerned that the Waitakere Ranges Regional Park has been disappeared, if you like, and that's not helpful. The Waitakere Ranges is a statutory regional park under the Local Government Act 2002. It's confirmed in public ownership in perpetuity.
Councillor Lee, just
by excuse me, I'm talking. The Governor General's.
This is a question. Just
order in council. So my question is, why isn't the Waitakere Ranges Regional Park given appropriate reference in these documents, let alone the deed.
It clearly states land that is administered by Auckland Council. We haven't made any differentiation between what's regional park and local park. That is correct. But it's really talking about the land, and I think that's that. And I just want to, I don't think anyone wants to undermine, that's not been the intention of this, to undermine the significance of the Centennial Park, all of the hard work that everyone has put into that, and also, Auckland Council's efforts to protect that land using the legal mechanisms that it has. But it simply just refers to the land as Auckland Council land.
Well, it's 17,000 hectares and it's virtually been disappeared. Instead, we have the ranges, we have the heritage area, but not the regional park. It's a regional park that the ratepayers are paying for, and that needs to be acknowledged and given importance, because if you disappear it already, it means that we're going to have a problem somewhere down the track on this process.
Kia ora, Graham, did you?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to remind people that the Act fully recognises the regional park and its status and protects that. And so the committee is working within the framework of the Act. It's quite clear that it relates to the regional park.
Kia ora, thank you, Graham. Were there any other last questions? I just have one last question before we go for I think we need a break before we move to debate. Just for Ed, from the moment you brought this up on one of our first meetings this term as chair, I was wanting to figure out how to do this, and we've worked pretty closely together. I guess, how does it feel through even just this last couple of years to be here today? You're not going to get an opportunity to talk because you're not a member of the committee today, but I guess, do you want to just give us 3 seconds of how you're feeling to finally be at this point? And I just want to acknowledge all our work together on this, and thank you for the advice as well.
Kia ora, Chair Hills. I appreciate the opportunity. I guess I don't know until I understand the decision today, but assuming that the decision is one that we like, then I would say it's been an absolute privilege to represent my iwi, to bring this forward to this table, and I thank yourself in particular, and again, council staff, councillors, and my fellow member tau henare on this committee. I would say over time, I hope my forehead, the fractures in it heal from banging my head against the wall for over a decade. But this is, I'm sure, a really, really good day for us. But I'm really focused on the mahi ahead as well, as I always am. But this is a good day. This will be a good day. So kia ora.
Kia ora. Thanks, Ed. Right, we will just thank everyone. Oh, Nick, did you have?
If I may, through the chair, I just want to acknowledge the hard work that Michelle has put into this over the last year. As well as me, no, just kidding. As well as a number of other staff and teams all around Auckland Council. It's really been truly a team effort, so I just wanted to acknowledge their mahi.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say it in my speaking turn, but Michelle, but all the team behind this, the complexities, also taking my calls on the weekends and even last night at about 7:30.